is what I like.
Okay, I call to order the Tuesday, June 20th, 2017 meeting of the Iredell County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please bow your head in a moment of silent prayer or reflection. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. Smith, if you'd please summarize any adjustments to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one adjustment to the agenda. This would be under administrative matters, and this would be memo number 8.12. This is a request for approval of a Duke Power easement at Rocky River Elementary School. We did add a personnel issue or a personnel item in the pre-agenda and dealt with that in closed session, but there is no need to add it now.
And we did have a discussion relative to the Mount Morton Volunteer Fire Department under unfinished business.
Yes.
And we will have a resolution to discuss on House Bill 403 under new business. Okay. With those adjustments to the agenda noted, is there a motion to approve the agenda as adjusted?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Norman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. At this time, we have a presentation of a special recognition and award, and I would ask Ms. Amy Carver to please come up, as well as members of our EMS team, Blair Ritchie. And Ms. Carver, if you'd please just share with us where you're from and the recognitions that you're going to be passing on.
Sure. I'm Amy Craver from Wake Forest Baptist in Winston-Salem, one of your PCI receiving centers, which handles and takes care of cardiac arrest and heart attack patients that come in from the county. I work in the role with the Heart and Vascular Center and am fortunate to be able to serve 27 counties here in North Carolina. And it has been my absolute pleasure over the years to have the opportunity to work with Iredell County EMS. And this year, Iredell County EMS has earned the Silver Plus Mission Lifeline Award for outstanding care of patients with the most severe form of heart attack. This is a nationally recognized award in partnership with the American Heart Association. The Plus measure indicated along with the Silver Award, indicates additional efforts and care that are beyond the minimal requirements the AHA has for the standards of this award. These include EKGs within 10 minutes of patient contact, early notification of the receiving center, and these acts have proven over time to save lives and return people back to their normal lives with great functioning hearts and heart muscle. So that being said, it is truly my absolute pleasure to present Iredell County EMS with the Silver Plus Mission Lifeline Award. I would also like to mention, in my years and over the time of this award, this is the highest award achieved by the first effort and the first application. Usually they start with bronze, so they went straight to Silver Plus. So huge accomplishment and congratulations. We'll head this way.
All could just come up here and then get a picture of everybody in front of commissioners. You can all stand. Move in a little bit. That's what you're here for. We're just the eye candy. This is where the action is.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good job, Ron. Good job.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. See you.
Well, we really appreciate the fact that folks outside the county recognize the service above themselves that our EMS professionals provide on a day in and day out basis. And it's worth noting that in this year's budget that we have added a truck, and then I had to add 8 personnel to be able to staff that truck as the demand for EMS services just continues to rise throughout the county. And we appreciate the leadership that you bring to the EMS department, Blair. Okay, there are no appointments before the board. There are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. We have administrative matters that were reviewed at the pre-agenda meeting that would be appropriate for a consent agenda. And Mr. Smith, if you could please summarize those, with the exception of item 8.9.
Yes, sir. Item 8.1 was a request from Parks and Recreation for approval of budget amendment number 32 to appropriate South Iredell Soccer Association's donation of $24,700 for the purpose of field restoration at Stumpy Creek Park. 8.2 is a request from Finance Department for approval of a 3-year lease extension with the USDA for the Forestry Service and Rural Development Divisions, and those are housed at the Ag Center on Bristol Drive. 8.3, request from the Finance Department for adoption of a resolution to sell real estate concerning a house at 504 Woodlawn in Statesville using GovDeals Online Surplus Auction. 8.4, a request from the Finance Department for approval of an updated financing plan for Trinity Volunteer Fire Department for their building project. 8.5, a request from the Finance Department for approval of the services and facility agreement at the new Trinity Volunteer Fire Department Public Safety Building. 8.6, a request from Fire Services and Emergency Management to appoint Jody Smyer as the Emergency Management Coordinator. 8.7, a request from Emergency Management for approval of budget amendment number 33 to cover compensatory time for an employee that is retiring on June 30th, 2017. 8.8, a request from Administration for approval of a lease agreement for the probation and parole offices located at 226 North Trad, 610 East Center Avenue, 204 Cooper, 433 South Meeting Street, and 221 Water Street. 8.10, a request from Tax Administration for approval of May refunds and releases. 8.11, request from the Clerk to the Board for approval of minutes from the meeting on June 6, 2017. And 8.12, approval of a Duke Power easement at Rocky River Elementary School in Mooresville.
Is there any further discussion on these items? Is there a motion to approve the items listed in our consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner McNeely. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. And finally, 8.9.
This was a request from Administration for consideration of a reimbursement to the town of Harmony for a water drain project. This is a continuation of a request from the mayor at our last meeting 2 weeks ago. At that meeting, and the board can certainly chime in, at that meeting there was discussion about funding at least part of the project, although there was no resolution that took place. The recommendation is that if you choose to fund any of this project, that that we do so to the school system and not to the town of Harmony for several reasons. The biggest one being that the county commissioners are responsible for capital projects for the schools currently.
Okay, is there any further discussion on that matter? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, before I make a motion, do I need to untable this?
No.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we allocate up to 1/3 of the Harmony stormwater repair cost incurred by the town of Harmony following construction behind Harmony Elementary School not to exceed $25,000, and provided that the Iredell Statesville School System contributes the same amount. The allocated funds shall be distributed to Iredell Statesville School System earmarked solely for the reimbursement to the town of Harmony. The county manager is hereby authorized to negotiate any further terms necessary for distribution of these funds.
Motion by Commissioner Houp. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Finally, there are no announcements for vacancies on boards or commissions. Appointments to boards and commissions. We have one appointment to the Social Services Board, and we do have a motion, I believe, by Commissioner Houp relative to appointing Alice Stewart for another term.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Alice Stewart to continue her hard years of service on the Iredell County Social Services Board.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. At this point in time, I'd like to announce that Vice Chairman Bowles will be departing to attend the tail end of a public information meeting that the town of Mooresville is conducting that has impacts concerning county citizens and residents in the Bridges Farm area. And so we want to let him go down there and represent us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles. Please note for the record that we continue to have a quorum present. Unfinished business, the Mount Morn Volunteer Fire Department.
Today we received the signed contract from Mount Morn that we are requiring from all of the volunteer fire departments in the county by July 1. While talking to while Kent Green was exited, while Kent was talking with Mount Morn, the question came up about funding that the county had been holding back that had been allocated for FY17 based on the requirement of an agreement that needed to be discussed and made with the town of Mooresville. They had asked if the county would consider releasing that money, but again, this was today. It was kind of late notice, but we did talk about it in the pre-agenda some today, and we agreed when Commissioner Houp and Commissioner Bowles went down 3 weeks ago or so and met with Mount Morn to at least consider the relinquishment of that money at a date once the contract was signed. Now the decision is up to the board as to whether or not you want to do that.
And I believe we'd be looking for a motion to put this on the agenda for the July 18th meeting on the administrative agenda to review the disbursement process of those funds and review the status of the negotiations and discussions with the town of Mooresville Fire Department relative to just issues of concurrent jurisdiction and responses and leveraging their resources effectively. Is there a motion to that effect?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. We did have a constructive meeting, but I would like to make a motion that we do put that on our July 18 agenda, that we asked members from that department and their board, along with Mr. Green, to come up and speak with us at our pre-agenda meeting in reference to moving this process forward and releasing that funding.
Motion by Commissioner Houp. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to reiterate that there's been some confusion in the past, and this way I hope there will be no confusion going forward, and we'll be able to come to an amicable situation here and a solution.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. The public comment period is held the second meeting of every month, and I don't have an indication that anyone has signed up at this point. I would inquire of anyone that is present if they would like to make a statement. And hearing none, I would like to give a shout out to Commissioner Martin Oakes from Lincoln County, who is the vice chair of their Board of Commissioners. He's here to be able to get the lay of the land as far as one of Lincoln County's neighbors, and we appreciate your being here to share with us at some appropriate time any kind of opportunities that we have as neighbors to work together. I know we have fire departments that Lake Norman Volunteer Fire Department and the Sherrills Ford Fire Department all work together to support citizens on both sides of the lake, and we appreciate that. Okay. New business. We're going to discuss a resolution relative to House Bill 403, and Commissioner Norman, well, perhaps Mr. Smith, you want to summarize, and then I believe Commissioner Norman has the deep background.
We, over the last week or so, we have been getting some input from Partners Behavioral Health Care, who provides mental health services in Iredell and 8 other counties, about proposed legislation that was going to be, or that would be detrimental to their organization and potentially to the state at large. And I talked to Rhett Melton, who is their executive director today, got a little background on what started as HB 403. I think that's still the name that we're going by. But HB 403, and in talking with Mr. Melton, the intent of, or at least partially the intent of this legislation, was to attempt to rein in one of his sister agencies in another part of the state. Had some spending issues and a number of things that I won't go into, but running afoul of how an agency should perform that is dealing with taxpayer money. In the early stages of this legislation, Mr. Melton was invited in when this was in the House. He was invited in to provide comment and to review the legislation. Had no problems at that time and supported it. And at some point when this hit the House, hit the Senate, it had changed and has changed in a way that is, in his opinion, seriously detrimental to the organization. I asked Mr. Melton to give me 2 reasons why our board should support or should oppose this legislation. And one, and this is the main one, and I think this is extremely important for Iredell and other counties, is the availability or the ability to interact with the local agencies, with partners between DSS, the health department, law enforcement, their new hub. Those relationships would effectively be severed if we go to a much broader regional type of organization, which their intention is to go, I believe, to 3 throughout the state. So that's probably the biggest reason. The second reason is that the original House bill was adequate, at least in his opinion. It solved the problems that were the sponsor or whomever this really began with, that they had with the way the LME was being run. It solved that, but it didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. So the fact that the local relationships would be severed, and the fact that previous versions of this legislation would solve the issue are 2 of the main reasons that he would give for opposing this legislation. And he did ask that if you choose to oppose it, go back to the original. That again, it's suitable, and that would be something that they could support. I'm glad to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Smith, there's other issues dealing here with this House Bill 403. One main issue is it would affect not only our citizens of Arlington County. We've just got a new hub being built right now at the present time, mental health hub in Arlington County, where our law enforcement will not have to take people all the way to Morganton or to Raleigh, that they can be housed right here in Arlington County. This would cut funds out. We may end up losing our hub in Arlington County. And really, the issue had already been held and taken care of by the House. Therefore, I'm going to make a motion, if that's okay with you, for us to do a resolution. We are in agreement with HB 403, which is the House version, not the Senate version. And the motion is to authorize the county manager to develop a resolution expressing the board's support of HB 403, again, that's House version, as drafted, and the board's desire for legislative delegation to support HB 403 in its original form. And that original form was the House form. And we'd like to send that letter to our legislatures also. And I do thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Norman. Any further discussion? You don't want to speak on this?
After this is over.
Okay. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. That resolution, I understand, will be drafted and circulated for comment. And then once we have everyone's input, then we'll go ahead and submit that to our legislative team. Okay. Any additional new business?
Mr. Chairman, I had something. Commissioner Norman and I are on our education task force, and we continue our facilities task force, working with members of the community. But I just wanted to express and deliver a message back from our school boards and Mitchell College to the citizens of Iredell County and this board and our staff for investing in their school systems. We've just completed the 16-17 school years, and they especially also wanted me to express to the sheriff and the sheriff's department for the work of his SROs and his departments, his proactivity, taking his trailers around to campuses and things and keeping their campuses safe. But I just want to express their thank you. We are continuing our efforts to improve our negotiations and continue investing wisely in our schools to give our citizens an investment back. And I wanted to congratulate their administration and school board and also their teachers and staff and wish them all a safe and happy summer.
I think we can all join in that sentiment by acclamation. County Manager's report, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start tonight. I want to give you an update on the process of the jail expansion. We've had something of a setback, and there are a lot of rumors going around out there, so I want to kind of give some of the facts to fill in the blanks. On Thursday, June 8th, we had a second bid opening. This is the jail project being such a large project required 2 bid openings. Most of our work was done the first day, and then on June 8th, the second. Many were rebids, but the second was when we actually found the number that we were going to be dealing with. So we held those bid openings on June 8th. And they did come in high. And at that point, I met with the project manager, consulted with the architect, the construction manager, talked to the sheriff, seeking ways to figure out, where do we go from here? And the best suggestion that I got was from our architect, and that was basically to move in a different direction from the procurement method. We're in a construction manager at risk process now, and what we have chosen to do, or what I chose to do, was redirect that to a single bid or a single prime bid process. And basically, that is going to put us back about 60 days No money spent, no money out of the county's pocket to do this new process. But it's effectively going to test our numbers. You know, we got the bids that we received on the 8th and the total bids. Now they're too high for our taste. We've got to test the market. We've got to see if through this different procurement method, through this different bid process, are we going to get better numbers? So we are, bid packages will go out on July 2nd. They will come back in on July 27th. And at 3 o'clock in this room, we will have a bid opening, and then we'll know for sure where we stand. If our numbers don't get much better, then we've got some decisions to make. However, I'm optimistic that they are going to get better. And if they do, then we can move along with that process at the time. But until we get through the 27th, we're really not going to know. There's a lot of factors that went into, at least in our minds, why they were high. I don't think it's design. I think that there are some other factors involved, and I won't go into all those now. But that's where we're at. Again, no money out of our pocket. It will put us back 60 days. The architect has agreed to eat all of those costs, and hopefully we come back with something more positive at the end of July. Be glad to answer any questions on that. I think you all have a better understanding, obviously, because I tried to keep you up to speed. But it's not something that we're hiding. It's just, it is what it is, and that's the way that they came in.
Mr. Ron, I just wanted to say that, you know, one of the General Government Task Force members, I'm in regular communications with the sheriff, and his staff and our staff have worked closely on this, and just cost of construction and materials and things beyond our control, I think, sent some of those numbers higher than we anticipated. But I wanted to say also, you know, the sheriff was in agreement with that process because he wants the best investment and be a good steward of taxpayer dollars. And also, I want to make sure that we don't jeopardize quality and quantity, safety, and major systems throughout the jail. And I think this process is a first step toward acquiring those goals. But I just wanted to make sure that the public knew and you knew that the sheriff was in agreement with that process and his staff, and they along with our staff, has done a great job trying to hold these costs down while maximizing all of those things I mentioned before, safety and major systems, and so we can make this investment last long term.
Thank you for that update, Ron. You know, I know that your staff and yourself, your entire team, and the Sheriff's Department have scrubbed and rescrubbed and looked at every opportunity to achieve efficiencies and achieve savings, but not at the expense of safety or providing the appropriate level of services and accommodation, and be able to meet the needs of the county going forward, and not ending up with a facility that we outgrow quickly or isn't going to meet our safety requirements. You know, there's ways you can do jails that you can save a few dollars, but you put your people at risk, and you put inmates at risk. So we're just going to do it right, and appreciate the fact that you're looking at alternatives to see whether or not within the bidding process itself there hasn't been some inflation there to try to accommodate for risks in one type of management process. So we look forward to hearing the results. Anything further?
Just a real quick update on two pieces of legislation. The first is Senate Bill 126, and this is the sales tax bill. Hard to really say, but it seems like it has some movement. It's come out of the Committee on Rules, Calendar, and Operations and has moved to the Finance Committee, which is probably not a good sign for us because it does have movement. Means it's at least getting somewhere. Don't know yet where where it's going to land, but that's kind of where it is right now. And SB 594, that's the DSS regionalization, which we had also put some considerable time and effort into. That seems to have stalled. It's gone to 4 different committees and only gotten a recommendation out of 1. And there really hasn't been any action on that since May 26th. So I do think that that's probably going to stall and maybe stay stalled. But, never can quite tell.
I think at least the discussion on that has shifted from mandating regionalization to giving that option. For those counties that are able to provide the services and meet the state requirements and all the NC FAST input requirements, that if they're not broken, not to mess with. And it's our collective feeling that the bill, as it was proposed in the House and the Senate, would have cut the ability of the DSS personnel to service our people and to provide the full range of services in partnership with partners, for instance. So that's good news on that score. Sometimes you just have to look at hoping that legislation that emanates out of Raleigh that first does no harm, and we're just trying to do no harm. So if it's not broken, there's no reason to try to fix it. We did have a closed session relative to matters of economic development and personnel. Nothing to report out specifically relative to personnel. Economic development, there are 2 matters that we were briefed on that require a public hearing for approval of incentives. So you want to summarize those or make the motion, Mr. McNeely?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Hopefully I'm bringing some good news other than some solemn news we just got from Raleigh. Sometimes the best governance is no governance at all. Go home. But anyway, in that light, I'd like to make a motion to call for a public hearing on July 18th, 2017 at 7 p.m. regarding an economic development incentive not to exceed $503,000 over a 5-year period for Project TEA, as an iced tea, based on a $27.8 million investment in Iredell County.
Motion by Commissioner McNeely. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm back at it again, so I think this is a good night for us. I'd like to make a motion to call for a public hearing on July 18, 2017 at 7 p.m. regarding economic development incentive not to exceed $106,700 over a 5-year period for Project Harmony, based on a $5.5 million investment in Iredell County.
Motion by Commissioner McNeely. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. At this time, is there any further business to come before the Commission?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a comment before I make a motion to adjourn. County manager was on vacation, and how we missed him. However, I wanted to give a shout out to his staff. They did a great job while he was gone.
That's good. That's right. The county was still here when you returned, and that's because you've got great staff working for you. Surround yourself with good people, and you can take a vacation.
Yeah, you can take off all the time. Maybe.
Just remember you need me, okay? Just remember you need me.
Okay.
I agree with you. Thank you.
All right. All hearts free?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned.